Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 3 very simple signs that you are an indigo adult. What is an indigo adult, you might be wondering? Well, I'll tell you what that is, but if you are one, it's going to help your entire life make a lot more sense. It's going to allow you to embrace your very unique nature. Indigos, you'll see in a minute, are very unique, very different. Hence why you might feel alone, like an outcast, like you see the world in a way that nobody else really gets, but it's so true and real to you. But the point of this video is to help you embrace your indigo nature, because quite frankly, the world needs bold, rebel, indigo, game-changing type of souls like yourself more than ever. So what is an indigo soul? I'm going to give you a brief background, and it comes from a woman named Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon was a very well-known hypnotherapist, and she was able to bring people into what she would call like the superconscious state, where she was able to kind of communicate with the person's spirit or the person's soul. And I know that sounds kind of out there, but this woman traveled around the world over the span of many decades, and what she would find is similar to like a near-death experience, where it sounds kind of crazy what people say and report, and yet thousands of people are saying the exact same thing, so it's kind of hard to ignore. Same thing with these hypnotherapy sessions. And one of the things that was extremely common that people would say is that right now is a very unique time for planet Earth and its people. It's going through a change, going through a shift. There's a shift in consciousness, an evolutionary leap taking place. And what's sort of creating it is these indigo souls, people or souls that maybe would not ordinarily come to a place like Earth, would rather, incarnate on other planets where it's much higher vibration, less pain, less suffering, more love, more unity, that kind of thing. But for the sake of the planet, because it's obviously not in the best way, they sort of chose to come down into Earth, knowing they're going to forget who they are as these like badass souls, and at some point, however, sort of be triggered awake and remember their role and remember what they came to do, which is to create change, which is to be different, which is to essentially be an authentic expression, which is so rare on the planet. And through these different souls doing this, it will create this big ripple effect. But the problem is, again, no one's really being themselves. So many people are just like a walking corpse, honestly. They're dead. They're asleep completely. And that's why when you started to wake up, you started to feel like such an outcast, so different. Like what? Like almost questioning yourself. So anyway, my friend, this video, the intention behind it is to help you embrace yourself, your nature, and the path you came to walk, because again, the world needs it right now. People need it, and you'll be a lot happier as well. So sign number 1, if you are an indigo adult or child, probably not a kid watching my videos, I would bet, but you are very sensitive. You love animals. You have a huge heart. You want the best for people. You see the best in people, but you walk through life with your guard up. Because that same awareness, that same sensitivity that allows you to tune into like the goodness, the positive spectrum of life, also makes you kind of hyper aware of the negativity around the planet, the negativity in people's hearts, the negativity that just clouds people's judgment, and you probably don't trust people. Also, because you can tell they're lying very easily, and most people lie a lot. Their words don't always match their energy, and you can kind of see it all, and consequently, on one hand, you'd like more than anything to let your guard down and be yourself and live in like a much more peaceful, open way, but experience has basically trained you to not do that, which is understandable. Sign number 2, you have a creative side that's very like obvious. Like you are able to be like a conduit for the creative forces. And you might see like a lot of the masters and the artists and the composers and the musicians and even the athletes, they all the great ones can tap into this type of like frequency, this energy, and you can as well. But the concern you have is that your expression, what you feel inspired to do or be or create or whatever, you can anticipate no one's going to understand it. It's going to make you stand out even more than you already do. And there's this inner conflict you probably struggle with, where on one hand, you really want to you feel like you're not going to be happy if you're not being yourself, but you're afraid if you are yourself, if you are authentic, if you do put yourself out there in the way you feel called from within to do, you're going to be met with resistance. And you're probably right. It's not all in your head. It's being wise. But this will tie in nicely to sign number 3. And sign number 3 is that you are a rebel. You would rather die than conform. You can't. It hurts you. You will suffer. You will be very unhappy if you aren't your bold self, even though it will likely rustle feathers. That's why a lot of indigos, unfortunately, and I'm one as well, to the best of my knowledge, become drug addicts. Become because this inner conflict weighs so heavy on their shoulders that they need to escape. And a lot of indigos, unfortunately, are depressed. And they're diagnosed with depression or bipolar and all these different things, not discrediting any psychological condition, but I'm just saying generally, a lot of them suffer. And they suffer because they're on the fence. And they've been living on the fence between saying fuck it and just being themselves or not. And it's like this push and pull inner conflict that will tear you apart if you allow it to. Because as time goes on, more and more, you're going to feel increasingly inclined to really be more of yourself. As you continue to find yourself, you're probably going through a spiritual journey and probably have been for some time. You've probably been spiritually awake for years, and it's happening. You're becoming more and more and more awake as the days go on. And as this happens, you're becoming more and more aware of who you actually are. And also that there's a pull inside of you to be something different, to create change, to rustle feathers. You came to be bold. You didn't come to fall in line. You didn't come to go with the flow. You came to be yourself. And in a world where nobody is allowing themselves to be themselves, it only makes sense. You're going to feel alone, and you're going to be different, and you might piss some people off, and you might freak some people out, or you might push some people away. Good. Because those people that are resisting you were never really in a relationship with you anyway. They were in a relationship with this character you've been playing. A lot of indigo people I've worked with, I've coached, and they don't even want to be here. They're not suicidal, but they don't want to be here. They don't like it here on earth. They're very hip to the negativity, hip to the incredible negative type of vibes that seem to have infected all things, the fear, the control. They can't stand it. It doesn't compute with them. They come from a place where this wasn't how they are used to living as a soul anyways. But what I can tell you from one indigo to the other is that when you finally just embrace who you are, embrace your weirdness, let your freak flag fly proudly, boldly, there's this feeling of falling back into alignment with the flow of life, with your destiny, with your life path. And even though there are these side effects, yes, as I mentioned, people might not get it or judge you or whatever. You can be happy. You'll be happy on the inside. And each time you rub up against somebody that sort of triggers you or affects you or resists you, it's also an opportunity to continue your own growth. A lot of times what we fear isn't what people are going to say or think or do. It's how them doing that makes us feel about ourselves, because we have our own wounds. We have our own pain body, as Eckhart Tolle says. And as we start to walk this bold path forward, carving out the jungle with our machete and running into the branches of people's opinions and stuff, it's not so much the opinions themselves, it's our own resistance to the inner wounds that circumstance triggers. So it's not all about the people. It's not all about what's happening on the outside. A lot of it, most of it, honestly, is happening all within us. And you can use, if for nothing else, your bold way of being, your true way of being as an opportunity to heal yourself, to become whole, and to heal up some of the wounds you've been carrying around. And as you do that, ironically, you're going to have even more creative energy, more inspiration. You might become even more of like an odd duck in most people's eyes, but who cares? That's what you came to do. You'll be happy. You can be happy, you indigo fellow there, if you allow yourself to be yourself. And if you take responsibility for the different feelings that come up as people, as you brush up against people in the world with your unique vibe, your unique character and personality. It's all part of it. And then the more you heal within yourself, the more of that frequency you put out there into the world. And not only are you a prime example of someone who's not afraid to be themselves, but you're also an example of personal transformation and personal healing. And that's exactly the two things that people on planet Earth right now need. They need to stop playing a role they were taught to play, and they need to finally wake up and smell the roses and realize it's their own inner baggage that's creating all this insanity on the world. And it's not something it's something everybody needs to participate in. Everybody needs to get on the path of authenticity and healing. And if that doesn't happen, this world is screwed. The animals that you care so much about, bye-bye. The oceans, that it breaks your heart to see the Texas-sized islands of fucking plastic, it's just gonna get worse. All the sea life, the wars, all of that will just continue on as it always has. History will just repeat itself unless someone like you, who knows better, can step up to the plate and be yourself, and embrace this healing journey. I know it's not easy, and yes, it is lonely, and yes, you will affect other people in a way that you're not happy about, and it's something that needs to be done. It's a role you came to play, a path you came to walk. And if not you, then who?